Hello World is a song that we sing.
Welcome to the Pop Culture Preservation Society, the podcast for people born in the big wheel generation who are the only generation to be fully trained in the metric system. It's coming, you guys. It's coming.
Any day now. Any day
Any
now.
day.
We believe our Gen X childhoods gave us unforgettable songs, stories, characters, and images. And if we don't talk about them, they'll disappear, like Marshall, Will, and Holly on a routine expedition.
And today we'll be shining the spotlight on a woman who didn't just sing the soundtrack of the 70s, she helped change the culture. We're talking about the one, the only, Helen Reddy. I'm Carolyn.
I'm Kristen.
And I'm Michelle, and we are your pop culture preservationists.
Before empowerment anthems were a whole Spotify category, before female forward was a marketing buzzword, there was Helen. And when she declared, "I am woman," she didn't just top the charts. She handed an entire generation an anthem that still resonates today. And I got to say 100% to that, because this is a mainstay on any running playlist I have. And I actually sing it out loud when I am running. It's the only song that I will sing out loud. Now, I might get quiet if there are other people around. Otherwise, I am doing it's choreographed.
I don't think you should. I think if you sing it loud when you're running, probably everybody would join in.
People know. People know what you're doing.
Sing? Have you heard me sing?
Oh, that's
Even
a very
better.
good point.
The dogs will start to howl. It won't be pretty. Well, throughout the early to mid 70s, Helen Reddy was an absolute chart dominator. We're talking hit after hit after hit. Radio loved her. The Billboard charts loved her, especially adult contemporary, meaning Carol, my
your inner Carol.
alter ego, loved her.
Sweet Carol.
Yeah.
And the audiences, especially women who were finding their voice in a rapidly changing world, really, really loved her. She wasn't just riding the wave of the women's movement. She was helping to give it a chorus that you could sing in your car with the windows down or on a running playlist, including my recent Chicago Marathon playlist. It played like 3 different times on there, you guys. That's how much, mojo it gives me. So today we're diving into how this Australian-born powerhouse went from struggling newcomer to Grammy-winning, culture-shifting superstar, and why her impact still echoes every time a woman claims her space and turns the volume all the way up. Before she became the voice of a generation, Helen Reddy was very much a show business kid from Australia. Okay, she was born in Melbourne in 1941 to vaudeville performers. So her parents were both vaudeville performers. Her dad was actually in the Australian Army. I don't know if it has a different name, but he served in World War II.
World War
II. Yeah, World War II. And he was in the entertainment division. So I just love that. There was a whole part of the armed forces, even the American ones, that they're not necessarily, maybe they're shooting guns, I don't know, but their main thing is to entertain the troops.
Yeah, the USO.
Yeah.
Remember, there was always...
Because he was in vaudeville.
Yeah.
Like he was,
do you guys,
anytime I hear vaudeville, did you guys ever do this? And this is, I feel like a 70s thing. I don't know, but you guys, I feel very strongly that you're going to go, I have no idea what you're talking about, but maybe somebody will. And hopefully you're watching this on YouTube. We used to do this thing. And anytime I hear vaudeville, I think of it. You must pay the rent. I can't pay the rent. You must pay the rent. But I can't pay the rent. You must pay the rent.
pay the rent.
I'll pay the rent.
hero.
Yeah, you're a hero.
I think that was on Sesame
I love it.
Street
You
or
guys
Electric
just
Company
finished
or
the
something.
thing.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it was. Maybe
But
it
still,
was.
I
Yeah.
totally.
I don't know how I know it. I don't remember it on Sesame Street. I just know it.
I would
And
do
then-
it with a
I'll
napkin.
pay the rent.
Yes, and you'd make a bow
A
tie
kitchen
or a
table.
hair,
Yeah,
or
you
a hair
would. Yeah,
bow.
you would
But
do
then
that.
the
So
mustache.
Oh yeah,
I
mustache.
must
The
pay the
mustache,
rent.
the bear
Was
tie,
the
bow
big
tie.
was the dastard,
got,
like
the
the lady with the
landlord.
mustache. You
Yeah.
must pay the rent, and then we would do it like I can't pay the rent, like she's like
Oh,
fainting.
funny.
I
We put a
can't
bow
pay the
in our
rent.
hair.
Yeah,
You
we
must
did
pay
that.
the rent. I can't. Oh, maybe it was a bow. I'm maybe
put a
remembering it
little bow in your
differently. But yeah, and then I'll pay. It was something like I'll pay the rent.
The bow tie. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, good.
because her parents were vaudevillian stars, she literally grew up backstage. And by the time that most kids were learning their multiplication tables and how to tell the ABCs, she was learning stage cues. She actually made her first professional appearance at the age of 4.
Oh my
You guys,
God.
she was out in front of an audience at 4. And really, she said it was just kind of like very natural. It was the family business. It wasn't like she felt really nervous, or do you even know how to feel nervous? Anyway, her childhood and her teen years were pretty much like, ours would be: pop culture, songs, music, television, radio, that kind of thing. And she actually performed in her teen and in her childhood and teen years, because that's what her parents said, this is what you're going to do. And she said, well, okay, I guess I'm going to do it. But she actually didn't really want to, you guys. And so when she was in her late teens, she decided to be a little rebellious and said, I'm not going to do this whole working woman thing. I want to be a housewife and have babies. And so she actually got married very, very young to somebody that was their parents' friend, which sounds kind of creepy. He's much older than she was.
Because wasn't she like 20? I feel like she was
20.
She
was like 19 and 20, like when she had a baby. She had her daughter Tracy, and obviously the marriage was doomed probably from the start. And so she became a single mother very young and found herself trying to work, but not really steadily, because even in Australia, probably the world, but women were finding it hard to make the money, pave their own way. It's like without a guy, you didn't really have a whole lot.
You weren't given a chance.
Yeah. And so she wasn't going to let that stop her. She decided that, she did have this talent, and she decided she was going to make it in a big way. And that way was going to have to come by moving to the United States. So this is what happened. She tried out. Well, hold on. Maybe she didn't try out.
The contest.
Yeah. So the turning point came in 1966 when Helen entered and won an Australian talent contest. And the prize was a ticket to New York City and the promise of a record deal. And it sounded like that, you guys, the classic showbiz tale. She's going to go to New York. Everything's going to be great. We love it. Except when she arrives in New York with Tracy, her daughter, on her hip, and heads to the offices of Mercury Records.
Mercury Records? Okay.
Yeah. And she heads to the office of Mercury Records. The deal, famously, it just fails to materialize. The awful mean man says to her, like, oh, you
must pay the rent. Sorry.
Yeah, it was.
Kind of. Yeah. So she misunderstood everything. No, she wasn't entitled to a record contract. It was just an audition for a record contract. And oh, by the way, you already did that audition. It was your performance on the show, and we don't like you. So you don't have anything.
And she's in New York.
And she's
like,
in New York
here
with her 2-year-old.
Oh, this is just as tragic.
Very little money.
Yeah.
It is so tragic, right? But she's there, and she has this dream, and she's like, I'm not going to give it up. I'm going to pave my way. I'm going to figure something out. So she performs in, like, some of those kind of smoky lounges, kind of doing covers of songs with background bands, and tries to make ends meet that way. She and Tracy are staying in a sleazy hotel or motel or whatever you want to call it. And she repeatedly asks for a raise. She finds out the band members, all male, are making more money than she is. And she's like she's the top billing.
The
she's
lead singer.
Right. And she's constantly and continually denied. And basically what's held over her head is, one, we shouldn't be paying you anything because you're not even from the United States, because she had to, the whole visa thing. And they said, you should just be happy with what you're getting. And actually, every once in a while, she'd have to go to Canada, and somehow who knows, all the hoops you have to jump
they have
through.
different, they didn't have the requirements for visas, for work permits and whatnot. They were just like, hi, you sing nice. Here's some money.
Yes, so she would go there and somehow be able to get her work visa and then come back to work for a little while. Anyway, that's what she's doing for a while. And she actually, at the same time, makes a really dear friend, a woman named Lillian Roxon. And I don't know if either of you have ever heard of Lillian, but now I know who she is, and she's pretty damn cool, okay? She is an Australian journalist, but she's working in New York now, and she's a journalist in the music and kind of entertainment world, but really in the rock genre is her thing, which was unheard of, to be a female journalist covering music, let alone rock. And she's actually the author of the Rock Encyclopedia, which is often held up as the encyclopedia of rock music ever. Wow. And this is I guess she published that in the early 70s, her friend Lillian. But needless to say, Lillian has some connections, and they befriend each other over their Australian connection and also over this awful male-dominated, misogynistic world that both of these women are trying to navigate. And so she provides her with a lot of introductions, and that really helps Helen kind of get her foot in the door a little bit in the music and the media world in New York. So during this kind of early time when she's in New York, she's meeting people. She also meets, he wasn't a talent manager, so this is wrong. She also meets a gentleman named Jeff Wald, who would later become her husband and a key architect in her career. Does that help you?
Yes.
Kristen?
And
Okay.
very shortly after, she gets her first hit. And that is the one that I think a lot of people think of first. No, I take that back. And this is the one that really put Helen Reddy on the map. And that is I Don't Know How to Love Him from 1971. This is almost like her origin story. I knew this song when it came out. I heard it when it came out, but I became intimately related to it when my mom bought the Helen Reddy's Greatest Hits album. I think a lot of these songs that we're going to talk about today came to us through that album, because raise your hand if your mom had that album, the Helen Reddy's Greatest Hits, which came out in 1975. So there were songs that we may have heard when we were little, and they became really entrenched in our brains. There it is.
Yes.
Michelle's holding it up right now. It's the navy blue.
It's my
And there's
mom's.
this circle. It's Michelle's actual.
Yeah, it's actual
mom's
my mom's
album.
album.
And
I
her
love
face
it.
is in the circle, and she
Yeah.
always looked naked to me. Because it's like from the neck up, but I just imagine she
But you
was
don't
naked.
even see her shoulders, but I see
No,
as a
you don't.
child, yeah.
Yeah, I thought she was
Yeah.
naked and beautiful, by the way. And also she had
Beautiful.
short hair, and I was very admiring of that because she was very wash and go, like not overly made up, not overly coiffed. She was like, "Here I am, world. Listen to my voice," and
Yeah.
I really kind of admired that. So her first hit is 1971's I Don't Know How to Love Him. And this is the song written by Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice for the rock opera Jesus Christ Superstar. The song is performed by Mary Magdalene, not in real life, not the real Mary Magdalene, but in the show, it's performed by Mary Magdalene as she realizes that Jesus is really unlike any man that she's ever encountered. And on the album and in the stage production and in the movie, the role of Mary Magdalene is played by Yvonne Elliman. She is the one who first sings I Don't Know How to Love Him. But Helen Reddy recorded it and released it at the same time. You guys, this is at the same time. These two competing versions of the song were climbing the charts together. Usually a song will come out and then years later somebody will cover it.
Right.
Nope. This is happening at the same time. And in
That's
the end,
crazy.
it's crazy.
I mean,
it's
that
so
like
1970s.
they would have the rights, so
Yeah.
this is Capitol Records that she's recording this song with,
Yeah.
so that they would have the rights to it as well as, I mean, maybe they have Yvonne Elliman too. I don't know.
Well, and what's weird is that so they have the album has come out. The Yvonne Elliman single has not been released as a single. Helen Reddy releases the song as a single, and then Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice are like, "Oh shit, we'd better release this as a single." So it's like they're chasing Helen Reddy, and Helen Reddy has the bigger hit. She's the one who gets the number one hit, not Yvonne Elliman. And because of that, I also mistakenly thought that Helen Reddy played Mary Magdalene in Jesus Christ Superstar. She did not.
I didn't think that, but I thought it is confusing, but this answers a lot of questions for me, because in my mind it was almost like what came first, the chicken or the egg type thing.
Yeah.
But you're telling me it was the same time. So
Exact
that answers a lot of
same
questions.
time.
And this makes me
Yes.
feel less ignorant about it.
Yeah.
You're
It's
not
very
ignorant at all.
confusing. It's very
It's
confusing.
so beautiful.
And she didn't
Yeah.
even
Guys,
want,
I love
Helen Reddy didn't even want to really record that. I Don't Know
No.
How to Love Him. It was,
She hated the song, as
Yeah.
did a lot of
Oh,
people. Linda Ronstadt
right.
was also
Oh.
offered the song, and she's like, yuck, I don't want it.
well, I know that, and you might, maybe we're going to say this, but I know that initially in a lot of the choices that Helen Reddy made in her songs, she was not liking the kind of songs that women were performing, on the radio, the top hits. They were
Yeah.
all about men and how do I
Adoration.
get him to marry me or love me
Yes.
again and, forgive me or whatever. So I think, probably a little bit of this song leaned into that, but this
Yeah.
was the B side of whatever other songs she recorded with
Yes.
them, but they didn't
Okay.
like that
That song
performance.
was a flop. That was
Correct.
a complete flop. So,
Right.
so like I said, this is coming just a few short years after she's arrived in New York, like Carolyn said, with $200 in her pocket and a 3-year-old on her hip. And she thought she had won a record contract, but no. So very quickly, she meets and marries. I'm talking 3 days. She meets a man, and 3 days later, she marries him, who works for, like you said, his name is Jeff Wald. He worked for a talent agency, and he bears a lot of the responsibility for the success of this song, but not really in the way that you'd think. So, like I said, they meet 3 days after they met, and she has admitted that she married him because she was having such trouble getting work permits to get actual jobs. And when he finally gets a job with Capitol Records in Los Angeles, they then move to LA, and he's managing these big names like Deep Purple and some other band I can't remember the name.
Tiny Tim.
Thank you, Tiny Tim. Oh my God.
Do you guys remember Tiny Tim?
Through the tulips. So he's having a great deal of success with these big bands, and she gets frustrated that he's spending all his time promoting these big acts, and she's like, hey, what about me?
No.
And
Listen
she
to this
tells
instrument.
him, yes, she's like, get to work, buddy. And she literally gave him an ultimatum. She's like, get me some opportunities or I'm out. I'm out. Like, what good are you? What use are you to me? And he does. And in that moment, he becomes Mr. Helen Reddy. And this would kind of come back to bite her in the ass later on, and we'll discuss that later. But he badgered people at Capitol Records so hard that eventually they said, fine. She can cut one record. She can come in and cut one record on one condition. And that is, Jeff Wald, husband of Helen Reddy, if you don't call us for 1 month, like leave us the fuck alone, and we will let her record a song.
Leave us alone. Leave us alone.
Please
leave us alone.
Just leave us alone. So that song that she recorded was called I Believe in Music, and it was a complete flop. But the flip side of that 45 was I Don't Know How to Love Him. So Helen Reddy has said that she had extreme anxiety when recording that first single with Capitol Records. Like, everything is riding on this. I need to be a big star or I'm going to starve to death. And if I blow this, it's over. And she said you can hear that in her vocals for I Believe in Music, which was written by Mac Davis, by the way.
Right. And I know the
hear
words.
it, and it's kind of like it's and people wasn't they weren't buying it. They weren't buying it. But that same anxiety made I Don't Know How to Love Him sound convincingly plaintive. Those are not my words. That is what other people have said. Convincingly plaintive. It is exactly what the song needed, and people loved it. And her hubs got on the phone again, this time calling radio DJs all over the nation, begging them to play it, using his own money, his own telephone credit card, his calling card. Remember how we called it? What did we call those? My AT&T card.
Yeah.
And he would take people out, wine and dine them. Anyone, please listen to my wife. And Helen Reddy actually admits, yes, that was exactly what happened, and more. In fact, she said that a great number of the requests that came into radio stations for I Don't Know How to Love Him, because remember, it's the B-side. And unless somebody tells you to flip it over, you're not going to flip it over. So they're calling in saying, can you please flip over I Believe in Music and play I Don't Know How to Love Him? She said a great number of those phone calls, those requests, all over the nation were made by her nephew, who was a teenage Australian actor who had a knack for voices.
Wait. Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Nuh-uh.
Calling radio stations all over the nation.
That's fabulous.
She said she had her friends call, and she even said, I may have made a call or two myself. Like, they are not giving up. They know that this is a cutthroat business, and you might have to make things happen.
Right.
And they did. So this made the Helen Reddy version of I Don't Know How to Love Him that much more successful than the track on the Jesus Christ Superstar album sung by Yvonne Elliman. Because, like I said, they're on the charts at the exact same time, which is so 70s. So, but it's a beautiful song, even though it has gotten a shit ton of criticism for being overly sentimental and, like you said earlier, Carolyn, you know, on your knees begging for somebody to love you. And that was not exactly the kind of song that she wanted to sing, and yet she really pulled it off, and it became a huge hit.
Yeah, well, I think you nailed it when you said that sound in her voice. What was it? Plaintively?
It was convincingly plaintive. Yeah.
And I think we'll see that theme play out in a lot of her songs that are, again, those storytelling narrative songs that you can see in your head. And there's like a yearning and a you could just feel it through the airwaves. And I had read something that she had said, and this couldn't seem true to me, but she would know, she lived it, that women, like female vocalists, were only allowed like a certain amount of slots, so to speak, on a radio show. So let's say in an hour, you could only play one woman singing, and everything else had to be male dominated. And so it was that much more important for them to be making those calls, for that to be one of the few songs by females that are going to be played during this DJ shift or whatever. So while we might laugh and think, oh, does that really matter that they're calling in and please play that song? That's what made her career, was that that's the
necessary.
Only way.
Yeah. And they knew that. They know all of these things. And because of that song, suddenly we have Helen Reddy.
Yes.
And we all thought that she was Mary Magdalene.
But we're
By we
here
all,
to,
you mean you.
to
Yeah, right.
set the record
I'm not
straight.
the only one. I'm sure I'm not the only
No,
one.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and so because of the success of I Don't Know How to Love Him and that single, Capitol Records said, hey, Helen, we're going to give you an album. We're going to sign you, and you're going to get a whole freaking album. And so this happens in 1972, and the title of that album is I Am Woman. However, the first single that's released from that album is perhaps my favorite Helen Reddy song of all time, and I would gather if you asked people, this would be right up there in their top one or two of Helen Reddy songs, and this would be Delta Dawn. You guys, I think this truly was probably the first pop, Billboard song that I knew every single word to. And I knew it in real time. I know I didn't just know it from the greatest hits later. I knew it because my parents were playing it in the car. As I've told you guys before, we had one of those new tone radios, intercoms in our house. And so radio was playing like at breakfast all the time, getting ready for school. I knew every single word. And so at this point, though, she's still kind of almost famous. Like, people kind of know the song, but she's not what she's going to become yet. But that was going to change because this song actually climbed to number one on my favorite chart, the adult contemporary chart, and cracked the top 10 of the Hot 100. So after all these years of hustling in the clubs and fighting for attention, all of a sudden radio could not get enough of her warm, conversational vocal style. And that's, I think, another...
It's warm. So warm.
Yes, it just... it just makes you kind of exhale.
Yeah.
You might know that she was not the first artist to record Delta Dawn. The song that was originally expected to kind of dominate the airwaves was Delta Dawn, being sung by Tanya Tucker, who released her recording in early 1972. And granted, Tucker's version was a country smash, but Helen, again, with that voice that she had that could kind of, it leaned toward pop and a different kind of interpretation, it became a Main Street, probably that too. It became a mainstream hit. Classic early 70s fun drama. And again, it's a mysterious song, as we'll talk about some of her later songs. There's a story behind it. And her voice, it just has that, again, plaintively, whatever you said.
Convincingly plaintive.
That just lends some credibility to that song and a little curiosity. And there's kind of lush orchestration in her version. So it really, I think, and I don't think anyone would argue, it helped kind of establish that storytelling style that she had. Yeah. Just kind of a little theatrical and very, very not rainbow friendly, and very, very radio friendly.
And you know what I think is, I'm now in my head comparing Tanya Tucker and Helen Reddy, and I think one is just telling you what happened. This happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. And with Helen Reddy, there was an empathy in her voice that made you have empathy for the character.
Yes.
You cared about Delta Dawn.
Yes.
You felt bad.
Yes, exactly.
Helen Reddy, to me, her voice envelops me. Like, her voice is like a warm hug, right? So she's got this depth and this just like longing, and she has so much more emotion than the Tanya Tucker version.
Agreed.
I think. Totally. So this rise that she's had, and now this kind of stardom that's coming with Delta Dawn, really sets the stage for this even bigger cultural moment that's just right around the corner.
So the song that I would argue Helen Reddy is most known for, and that is the quintessential, and Carolyn, as you alluded to earlier, timeless anthem for female empowerment is I Am Woman. And then whoever's editing this right now, you put some in. This highly, highly singable song was written by Helen Reddy and her friend Ray Burton. He was an Australian guitarist, musician. And okay, wait, because I haven't was included. I don't even want to say that. I'm just going to say here.
Wait, did you finish Delta Dawn, Carolyn?
Yeah, I was setting her up. I was saying
she set me up. Yeah. Okay. And was one of 2 original songs written by her and Richard Burton. That would be cool.
Wow.
Ray Burton.
That'd be a fun fact.
He was a Renaissance man. And Ray Burton, that she submitted to Capitol Records for that first album. And she wrote it because she couldn't find any songs that addressed female empowerment, which was hugely important to her. So if you look at her first album, a lot of those are covers that she's singing, but I Am Woman is one that she wrote. In a 2000... Well, and Ray Burton, Richard Burton.
Whatever.
Elizabeth Taylor was just like bringing him coffee. And, in a 2003 interview, she said, I couldn't find any songs that said what I thought being a woman was about. I thought about all these strong women in my family who had gotten through the Depression and world wars and drunken, abusive husbands, but there was nothing in music that reflected that. I certainly never thought of myself as a songwriter, but it came down to me having to do it, which is such a reflection of it's like the song that's so circular, right? Because that's what she's talking about.
I'll do it. I can't tell you at this moment in time, you guys, how often I will say to all the people in my life, I'll do it. Fine.
Exactly.
Clearly,
it's
you
like
think
she's
it's
like,
impossible,
I can't find
but
a
I'm
song
going to get
that's...
it done.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do it. I Am Woman, right?
Yeah.
And like Carolyn, like you said earlier, she'd been an actress on stage for years. And that, interestingly, is also what fueled this anger for men who treated women like objects. And now learning about this whole first Mercury Records or whatever thing, she's pissed about that too, right?
Yeah.
That was only several years before. And so again, I want to read you exactly what she said that I found in my research, because I won't do it justice if I summarize it. I mean, I am woman, but you know, I want to talk. Quote her. She said, "Women have always been objectified in showbiz. I'd be the opening act for a comic, and as I was leaving the stage, he'd say, 'Yeah, take your clothes off and wait for me in the dressing room. I'll be right there.'" That's how they talk too. That's that's their voice. Yeah.
Did they have an evil mustache too?
Yeah,
I should have put my finger under my nose. I'll be right there. He talks like the plumber from Electric Company. She said it was demeaning and humiliating for any woman to have that happen publicly. And I think this is so fascinating. She credits the song as having supernatural inspiration. She said, "I remember lying in bed one night and the words, 'I am strong, I am invincible, I am woman,' kept going over and over in my head. That part I considered to be divinely inspired. I had been chosen to get a message across." And you guys, that message, to get a message across is putting it mildly, because that's decades and decades of just an anthem and a message. So she said the next day,
singing the song.
Yeah. The next day she said she wrote the lyrics and handed it to her friend, Ray Burton, Australian guitarist, and he put it to music. The song was originally heard during the closing credits to a 1972 film called Stand Up and Be Counted. Do you guys know that movie? Well, that's not surprising, because it opened and closed the same week in May of 1972.
Yeah. What's it about?
But
Do you know what
I
it's
don't even
about?
know.
No, I think it's about the women's.
I didn't watch
rights movement. No, I'm pretty sure they had asked her if they could use it for the closing credits of this movie. That was kind of, it might have been a documentary even, of detailing, because you have to remember, in real time, these marches are happening on our streets, and her friend Lillian is very involved in the women's movement and National Organization for Women, and doing stuff in New York, which is another kind of inroads that Helen had, and another friend that was saying, "Yeah, it's shitty out there. You need to write a song." That the woman Lillian actually wrote the liner notes to several of Helen's earlier albums and specifically wrote about this song in the liner notes and kind of talked about it. So I do think that's maybe why it closed so quickly, sadly, was because it was about women and what was happening.
Feminazis.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. People wanting their own credit card.
Yeah. And I'm going to just interject really fast because you said that. I watched a biopic. It's called I Am Woman, and it was filmed in 2019 and based on Helen's memoir. And there is a scene where she whips out her credit card and she's so excited. She's like, I'm never going to use it. She shows her husband, but she said, I have my own, and it has my own name on it.
See, you guys, that's big. That was significant. You could not get a credit card in your own name.
Another part of the story, and almost what I want to tell our listeners is that we can't do Helen Reddy justice in a 60-minute PCPS episode. Like, there are a lot of things you could read. We'll include them in our show notes. I'll link to that biopic, to her memoir, to some of the stuff each of us is sharing, because it was much more than just she's a good singer that makes us hum along. Like, she really was a part of this movement. And then, sorry.
Yeah, well, and I do just have to, just to reiterate, so everybody feels this in their bones. This was in our lifetimes. So that means a woman could not get her own credit card in her own name without her husband signing for her when we were alive.
Yeah, it was our moms.
Right? It was our moms. Mm-hmm.
I think this Friday's Weekly Reader is just going to be all Helen Reddy. Because let's do it. Yeah. I mean, she's a national treasure. She's an icon. Yeah. So anyway, it played at the end of that movie, Stand Up and Be Counted, and people liked it. But they loved it. But still, it had a really slow climb. Like, it entered the Billboard Hot 100 at number 99 in June. And then when it peaked, it was only at number 97 2 weeks later. Then it fell off the list entirely. Then it reappeared at number 87 2 months later. And it wasn't until December that it reached number 1. And remember, it was played at the end of that movie way back in May. So it took a long time. But it was the first number 1 single for Capitol Records since Ode to Billy Joe by Bobby Gentry 5 years earlier. Mm-hmm.
Wow. 5 years they went without a number 1, and she gets it.
Yeah. And it was the first number 1 hit on the Billboard chart by an Australian-born artist and the first Australian written song to win a Grammy Award. And this is so great. In her acceptance speech at the Grammys for Best Female Performance, she thanked God because she makes everything possible. I just love that.
Mic drop.
I love it.
Boom.
I know. Mic drop and walk away.
So if you hadn't already listened to that song, you were going to go the next day and listen to it. You know,
you were
going to know what it was. And in that biopic, it showed that she would perform the song often in her shows that as she traveled the country. And then those cities would become, like, women would start calling those radio stations the next day saying, I want to hear this song. So I almost think that's part of the slow climb that you just talked about, Michelle, is that as she toured that year, because it was very important for her, she said, to perform that song, because the women, you know, who were going to relate to it and request it and buy it were the ones sitting next to their husbands at the, you know, concert, at the lounge or whatever. And so I do think that's why you slowly saw it, you know, rise the charts, because she was singing it more to more groups of people. And
and then you get to give your spin on it. You get to give a little information about it and why you're singing it. You personalize it instead of just randomly hearing it on the radio. Now you're personally connected to it.
And it's coupled with what's happening. I mean, this was a volatile time in our country's history, which I wish I knew more about, honestly. You know, I kind of remember like seeing, you know, video footage of women marching with the now signs or whatever, but not realizing, one, like you said, Kristen, this is our lifetime. And my mom, it's not like my mom was into any of this. So it wasn't like I was seeing this stuff personally, but it was huge. And I can only imagine if social media had been around then. But this song, coupled with all the things that were happening in our country, and kind of it kind of went together. I don't know that the song
there was a movement. There was a movement afoot, and they fed each other.
Exactly. There you go.
Yes. Well, I want to share 2 really feel-good little stories with you before we move on to her next song. And this one, I just think is really cool. Basically, for her, she wrote the song, but to her, the song's message reached beyond feminism. It's not just for women, she said. It's a general empowerment song about feeling good about yourself, believing in yourself. When my former brother-in-law, a doctor, was going to medical school, he played it every morning just to get him going.
Oh my gosh.
I believe
Yes.
it. It's that
Yes.
kind of song. It is.
Yeah, I know. And then I love this too. The National Organization for Women founder Betty Friedan said that during the 1973 NOW annual convention, they closed with the playing of I Am Woman. Suddenly, she said, women got out of their seats and started dancing around the hotel ballroom and joining hands in a circle that got larger and larger until maybe 1,000 of us were dancing and singing, I am strong, strong, I am invincible, I am woman. It was a spontaneous, beautiful expression of the exhilaration we all felt in those years, women really moving as women. And I feel like even today, that would happen. She knew the impact she had on just millions of women and little girls and, men. Obviously, her brother-in-law sang it every morning.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So now we're going to move on to 1973 to Leave Me Alone, parentheses, Ruby Red Dress, in parentheses. Now maybe a little it plays. And, I have zero connection to this song, and I'll tell you why, I think. Now I know my mom did have some of her earlier albums before this Greatest Hits album, but I feel like this, I don't know, this is the one maybe she played all the time. I had never really heard this song until I was researching it.
Oh, okay.
And it's actually a cover. It was originally recorded by Linda. Yeah, someone named Linda Laurie, who is a songwriter, an Australian songwriter. Okay. In the summer of 1973. And then Helen Reddy recorded it for her album called Long Hard Climb that was released in August. Then she released it as a single that October of 73. And then it became a million selling, gold certified, how all her songs, basically give them all the awards type of thing. So the song is about big old Ruby Red Dress who walks around town talking to herself,
people walking around town,
avoiding people. She's avoiding people, and we know this to be true. Why? Leave me alone. Won't you leave me alone? Please leave me alone. Won't you leave me alone? I mean, she is telling everybody in all capitals, leave me alone. And she's carrying the weight of a past. We don't know, but the lyrics suggest it's a sad and scandalous event. Definitely caused by some farm boy up from Tennessee who taught it all to Ruby, then just let her be.
We know what that means.
Yes, we do. And her father tried to hide it.
Oh, God.
But poor old Ruby Red Dress broke down like a fool, she says. Broke down like a fool. Now, this song was actually released as a follow-up single to Delta Dawn, but Helen Reddy thought that was a mistake because the song's themes were too familiar.
It's the same.
Think about it.
It's the
Both
same.
songs concern a Southern woman,
Yes.
alliteratively named.
Yes.
We got Delta Dawn. We got Ruby Red Dress. And their reason has been undermined by an ill-fated tryst.
And
Helen
they're making
Reddy-
them crazy. Like
And
one
they're
is
just
a
wandering
fool,
the
one is
streets.
crazy. Yes.
Yeah.
I know. She also found the song's chorus with the repetition of "Leave me alone" monotonous.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times she says it in the song?
Oh my God! Hold on, I'm gonna do it in my head. Leave me alone. Won't you leave me alone? Won't you leave me alone? Won't you?
We could be sitting here forever, everyone. So I'm just going to tell you.
Yeah. I'm going to say 22.
Is it 7?
Okay.
Well, in one
43.
chorus.
Oh, in the chorus.
43.
So it'd be 7 times whatever, however many times she does
okay.
the
Wow.
chorus. Yeah.
Whatever. But she says
Wow.
it 43 times
my
in the
God.
song. But alas, she was wrong, and Capitol Records was right, because "Leave Me Alone" reached all kinds, like I said, all kinds of important milestones, and hit all kinds of charts and got all the awards.
You know what's interesting to me?
It's
is
not
that
my favorite. I'm going to be honest. It's not
Oh,
my
I love
favorite
it.
Helen Reddy song at all.
Well, it's not my favorite, but it's just, again, I mean, Helen Reddy, her whatever discography could be a novel in my head. Like, this is chapter 2, Delta Dawn is chapter 1, now this is chapter 2, and we'll go on to have a 3 and 4 as we chat later.
Yeah.
It's
always the daddy who takes care of the secret pregnancy. Have you, in every song, there's no mother involved. It's just daddy. Daddy is so mad, and daddy's got a shotgun, and daddy's going to take care of it. Like, what's up with you, daddy?
Yeah.
And you'd think that this would be the realm of women. This would be.
I mean, he killed the daddy and killed poor Julie.
That's right.
In Run, Joey, Run.
He killed his own daughter.
Yeah.
So
well,
this
I
is
mean,
something
that was
to
a mistake,
ask
but yeah.
just something, listeners, just something to ponder, discuss, think about it. Why is it the daddy who's so in charge of the scandal?
Okay, that was one of my short ones, so that's good. We need some short ones in here.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to change themes a little bit here and come up with one of my other favorite songs. This is in 1974, and Helen releases this toe-tapping, wonderful song called Keep On Singin'.
Don't
Stop singing, because you're going to be a star someday. And Daddy plays a little part in this. So this is chapter 3 of my novel written by Helen Reddy. And one of my favorite memories was recently, and we've talked about this a little bit, but having this come on a playlist while I was driving with Kristen on the Pacific Coast Highway in, where were we again, Kristen?
We were
Bodega
Bodega
Bay.
Bay.
And it was one of those songs, again, that you forgot you knew all of the words to. And it's not one you would think, oh, I'm going to pull this up on a playlist of my own. It was like, I'd forgotten about Keep On Singing. But then I didn't stop singing. I was like, and Kristen and I were just belting it out. And anyway, I love it. And we have progressed in Helen's career because now she's like full on 70s pop queen. Okay, hold on. So this song climbs to number 15 on the Billboard Hot 100 and becomes another strong adult contemporary favorite. And radio programmers loved it because she delivered exactly what they were realizing the format was delivering on. No, that the format thrived on, which was emotional clarity, these big melodic hooks, and, as we've said earlier, her warm and reassuring vocal tone.
Yeah.
And it told a story. It was more than just this background thing. Like, you got to follow people in your head. And what's going to happen to our friend who wants to be a singer? And her dad says, just keep on singing. Don't give up. It's going to be okay. You're going to be a star one day. And you're going to make a lot of people happy when they come to hear you play. So, interestingly, the song was written by a duo, Danny Jansen and Bobby Hart, who actually wrote the hit, were the hit makers behind the Monkees. They wrote a lot of the Monkey songs. Yes. So it's kind of got, and now when you listen to it, Kristen, you can probably hear it's got that more boppy 70s.
The monkey bounce.
Yeah,
It's got
the monkey bounce. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's another reason why we love it. Okay, hold on. If I want to say this. So
Yeah, it's boppy. It's a good
it is
boppy.
very
It's totally
boppy.
boppy.
And it's a message, again, that Helen has given us in her other songs of perseverance, of staying true to your voice and kind of keeping on. Like, I'm going to make this dream come true. It's going to happen. And really kind of mirrored a lot of what she had experienced, too, in terms of I'm not going to give up. We're going to keep going. And it was kind of a fan-friendly anthem, and as well as this... for her, it was kind of mirroring, it was this self-mythology of what her career was what her career was doing and becoming, because this becomes the busiest stretch of her career.
1974 is on fire for Helen Reddy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Between 72 and 75 are her years. Not to mention, wait, is someone going to talk about her show? And interestingly, you guys, besides her chart-topping success, she was also a success on the little screen because she was a summer replacement for a variety show. She took over for the Flip Wilson show. And so she did. So she had her own variety show, which is another place that we would have seen her as children, because that would be, I'm sure, something our parents were tuning into.
Around this time, she also was a guest, more than once, on the Carol Burnett show. And you guys, I'm putting this one clip, this YouTube video, in the Weekly Reader this week. Like I said, it's going to be a Helen Reddy palooza. And so just grab a snack when you get your Weekly Reader on Friday. And for those of you who don't know, it comes in your email, comes in that email on your computer. And oh gosh, I swear, if you ever just need a balm, watch the Carol Burnett show. If SNL the writers would just watch the Carol Burnett show sketches, nobody would ever say, this season's not that good on SNL, or the writers aren't that good. It is so stinking funny and so simple. So Helen Reddy, obviously she's going to sing on the show, But her and Carol Burnett are these two, and they dress them to just be dorky. In fact, Helen Reddy has her hair parted in the middle and then like two little clips on each side, like her bangs are clipped back. And they're going in the singles bar to pick up men. They're all just so dorky and so socially awkward. And it is so funny. And at the very, very end, oh, you guys, it's just so funny. Their mannerisms. And I loved it so much yesterday when I watched it, when I discovered it. But it's so funny when they get up and they're like, we can do this. We can go ask them out. And they get up and Carol Burnett says, we are strong. We are invincible.
Keep on talking, don't stop talking. We've got lots more to say. But we've run out of time today, so tune in next Monday. That's right, everybody. We've got lots more to talk about. We love Helen Reddy, and we wanted to make sure we give her all the time that she deserves. So tune in next week for part 2 of Helen Reddy. She is Woman.
Hello world is a song that we're singing. Come on, get happy.